All right, and we're live. It's Lunch with Mal, and I have my very first guest ever, which is kind of weird. It's like we're all grown up here now or something. And it's Dana. Oh my God, I've never pronounced her last name before. Sacco?
Sacco.
Sacco. Okay. There's a river in New Hampshire called the Saco that's spelled basically the same, so I wasn't sure how to do that. And you are, someone that Jill's known from the business world for a while, from business coaching and consulting stuff, and you also read a lot of books. And I think that basically what happened is Jill said you should do something with reading all these books, right?
So she was actually the first one that introduced me to the term whale reader. I didn't even know it was a term. I didn't know it was a thing. I just read. And about a month ago, she came up with the idea and it kind of stuck in my head. And then when I was actually down for surgery and I had knee surgery recently. And so I sent her a text the next day. I said, okay, what do you think of this? And I outlined what I'm doing. And she's like, okay, that's good. Let's do it.
You and Jill seem to do this a lot, where you spitball business ideas and then do them.
We
right?
do. We do, as our kids are about to talk to each other as
really?
well.
Cool.
Yeah, they're about to. If we can get them out of their shells. But yes, we do this a lot. So there's a lot of business ideas and thoughts that have come up. But this was one of the ones that I'm technically retired. I stopped building systems. I stopped doing all of the online work. And this is just something that I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun. And I get to read.
Speaking of that, your background is in business systems and marketing systems and that sort of
Correct.
thing. So you've sort of been in this whole reaching consumers and for some time.
I've been in the marketing business, both online and offline, since I was 20. So we're going to say over 30 years.
Okay.
We're just going to leave it at that.
That's fine, yeah.
But yes, so, you were at the same, I know that you did a lot of the same things that I've done in the past with coding, with doing all the online stuff. And
systems integrations and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yes. And building the computers like the ones that you have in your office and stuff. And so I've done all of that, and I marketed both online and offline, and built websites and done way too much. And now I'm not doing it.
Yeah, but all of that, I think, at least in my case, it really helped with analysis. Like I feel like it gave me a good foundation for being comfortable analyzing things and looking at a lot of different pieces of data and putting it together to try and find the big picture that's there.
Oh, absolutely. It makes it so much different that I can see things from both a reader standpoint and a marketing standpoint, because I'm the one clicking. Right, I'm the one going through clicking on everything. So I'm seeing it from that standpoint. Am I going to read the book? Does your ad grab me? Does your blurb grab me? With the marketing stuff, I can say, just this little tweak here can make a difference.
Right. This would make me not read it, and this would make me read it, kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. Right. This would attract me.
Cool. I'm just going to pause and welcome everybody that's shown up. I know William's here, and Monica's here, and Jill's here. She was the yay, I'm here. And for, of course, everybody else is here. That's because obviously this is the way lives work, right? Like you find out about them about 5 minutes after they started. We're talking with Dana about a service that she has as a whale reader, where she'll read your book and give you an analysis of what she thinks of, the ad that you're running, your Amazon product page, whether or not it grabs her, if she feels that it was aligned with the ad or misaligned with the ad, and then additionally read the book. But I guess this must be something that's almost like bothered you for a while as well, because you seem to sort of jump into the idea of doing it where you would see ads and then you land on the page in the book what didn't match the ad. I'm guessing that probably happened, right?
It happens a lot. And I scroll through Facebook a lot. And as I'm doing that, I'm clicking on ads and I'm downloading books instantly. I'm not reading a whole lot. I'm the person that's going to go through and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll click. Now this is mainly, I'll say that's for Kindle Unlimited. And sometimes I'll look to see if it's in the library, if I'm really interested in whatever the ad said. I'm not necessarily always buying these books, or else I probably would no longer be married because there would be no more money. But I'm looking at all of that stuff. And so when I click on something, and I'll go back sometimes because I'll see the ad again, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with what I just read.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I'll be like, that image just, who is this person that's on the image? It didn't make any sense. And so then I'll be, the book might still be good, but it misaligned with me. So I might get irritated while I'm reading because I'm like, because this is not what I thought I was about to read.
Right. So you don't really read the blurb that much then, do you?
Usually the first couple lines.
Okay.
And usually what you can see at the top of the ad is about what I'm going to read.
You mean at the top of the Amazon product page, you mean? Or
right, a Facebook ad.
On the Facebook ad. Okay.
You have the image here, you have the little blurb up here, but you don't
like
see
3
a
lines.
whole. Yeah, you see. And so I'll read those. Sometimes I'll click because I'm curious, but not very often. Usually I'll just go and click, and then I'll look at the Amazon product page.
Okay. And do you read that whole blurb there, or do you kind of just skim it, or?
Skim it.
Okay. I figured most would skim it.
Yeah, I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you've already attracted my attention with your ad, if you've already attracted my attention that your cover looks good, I'm clicking.
Okay.
Reading the blurb, yeah, I'm expecting it, at some point. Okay. So I'm looking for those first 2 to 3 lines to capture my attention.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah. I always, a lot of times I'll tell authors that tagline you have at the top of your blurb is the most important thing. And it's going to need to convey, major tropes from the story and character stuff from the story right then and there.
Yeah.
Do you find, actually, I'm going to save that question because I want to talk about, you read a lot of different genres, and you said because you're now doing this, you're reading even more stuff, which is kind of cool. What genres do you read, and are there ones you won't read or you prefer to read?
I won't read nonfiction. Okay. That puts me to sleep no matter what. And I actually have to have a physical book. Since I do 99.9% ebooks, it needs to be in a Kindle format for me. No, there's no genre. I probably wouldn't read a Western.
No,
I don't want a spaghetti Western. And that's honestly the term that came into my head because I'm thinking John Wayne.
Right.
That's the type that I wouldn't read. But if it's, but you could toss in like a murder in there with a Western, and I probably would have no problem reading it.
Would you read like a Western romance?
Yeah, especially if there's a bordello.
Good to know.
I don't know why. I absolutely love it. They crack me up. And let's see. I'm trying to think of what else. No, I can't think of anything.
Thrillers, sci-fi. You'd go for it all.
Yeah, I really do. I've read everything. My favorite book in the history of reading is actually Les Mis. Okay. I read that as a teenager, and I knew it backwards and forwards to the point that I broke the whole spine of the book at the time.
Wow.
And so I absolutely loved it. It kind of goes along with my music. If you see my music on my playlist, it goes from opera to hard rock. So I'm
like that too. Like when it comes to books and to music, although I'm a little bit more picky with books, but with music, people will say what do you listen to? And I'm like, everything except for ska. And they're like, why not ska? And I'm like, because if I say I listen to everything, no one believes me. So I pick something, at random.
Right. I mean, it's, my playlist absolutely cracks me up. And it's the exact same thing with my Kindle. If you look at my Kindle, I have everything from young adult books to holy crap, my kids should never see that I read this type book. So, and it can be across the whole board. I mean, I've read spicy sci-fi. I've read, I love cozies. I mean, cozies take me about half a day to read, like most cozy books. So it's kind of, it just depends on my mood.
Cool. Well, that's good. I mean, that sounds like you've got like a really broad experience where, like, I would imagine that Facebook and Amazon must promote all sorts of kinds of books to you as well, based on what you've clicked on.
It's really weird. Yes. My ads on Facebook that I get, the things that they target me for, I'm like, really? So, yeah.
I believe it. Yeah. I mean, Facebook isn't especially lately is not the best at doing targeting.
No.
Cipriano asked, would you say that's because most ads are bad or you're desensitized to ads in general? And he said that you don't normally click.
So it's the image. I'll actually I scroll through fast. And when I'm, think how much you're actually paying attention to the stuff we actually see on Facebook. I think in general, all of us are desensitized to, unless it's someone you like. There's so much static and white noise that's on Facebook. So that's why the picture is going to grab my attention. And you and I were talking about this before we went live. If you put like a catchphrase on the image, that's going to attract my attention. Why? Because it's going to make me laugh. It's going to grab me in. It doesn't have to make me laugh, but it's going to make me stop. And there was one recently, I forget what it said, but I think it said the corpse queen lives, something like that. I don't know.
That would have just stopped me too.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, what is this? And the image wasn't even that great. It just wasn't that great, but it made me stop and look at the image. And that's what, I don't think I'm really desensitized to them. I think it's more, something has to attract my attention. Right.
Yeah, I tell authors that all the time when we're making ads for them. Like, you have to think about what people are doing. They're just doom scrolling through Facebook, know. And if your image is cluttered and it's unclear what it is at a glance, if it's like low contrast or low quality, people are just not going to stop and pay attention. It needs to be a really clear, crisp, easily identifiable image of some sort.
Yeah, one attracted my attention the other day was just because it had a green neon background.
Yeah.
I mean, it had two characters on it, and I think that they were paranormal in some way, shape, or form. That shows you how much I paid attention to it, but I stopped.
Right.
I stopped because it was a neon green background, and it was just like right in my face, and it was probably at 4:00 in the morning, so it was really right there. But it made me stop.
Yeah.
And I think I clicked. I think I have the book. I don't know. I'll find out later.
How many of the books that you click and download do you actually read?
Almost all of them.
Really? So you'll go through and just click on all sorts of different things, pull them onto your Kindle, and just burn through them all.
Yeah, but I've also been finding out that, like, I've already read these books. Oh. It's like, especially if you guys put them into an omnibus.
Right. Yeah.
And it'll be like, it's like, oh, I haven't read this because of course it hasn't, it's not showing up that Kindle Unlimited. I really wish the one thing that they would really do, and they should have this damn ability at this point, is to tell me whether or not I've ever downloaded and read this book before.
Yeah.
They don't have that ability. So there's a lot of times that I'll go through and I'll download it and I'll start reading. I'll be like, crap, I've already finished this book.
Right. And also I'm thinking that because you're kind of like, being like a whale reader where you're just there to consume as much content. And you said you're not reading the entire blurb. So even if the author mentions at the bottom, this book has appeared as this other title, you're never going to see that. You're just
right. I'm never going to see that. You've grabbed my, but I give them props because you guys have grabbed my attention again.
Yeah, that's true. That is good. And you gave them a rank boost by borrowing it at least.
Right. I mean, at least I borrowed it. That'll boost you up. And most likely I've read pages too, because it takes me a while before I realize that I've read it. Right.
And the omnibus, since Amazon considers it to be an entirely separate book, they'll count as new page reads. So
right.
So that part is good. Actually, this is interesting. William Stacy says, how important is it to see the KU banner or text on that image or in the ad?
Honestly, for me, it's pretty important because,
Okay.
like I said, I wouldn't be married if I had to buy all the books that I have. When I was a kid, I was banned from the local library because I had too many books that were gone and missing. So I lost my library card as a kid.
That must have been devastating.
To my mother more than me. She was more embarrassed than I was. Um, I still like those books, but I like to see it. So what I've seen, and I don't know how to do this because I'm not a Facebook ad person, but I've been seeing it a lot in the gray area right below the image. So it's not
Mhm.
necessarily on the image itself. It's right
Right.
below it. It will
Yeah,
say it
that's
like
called the
free.
headline area.
Yeah. So that will attract my attention just as much.
Mhm.
If you put it in the image, don't make it like this big thing on there
Right.
because I make it smaller. It's kind of like a bonus to me that
Gotcha.
it's free and
Okay.
Kindle Unlimited. But I'll click on it anyway, even if it doesn't say that, because there's a strong possibility that it is.
Yeah.
Or it's on sale. I mean, or I've earned enough credits to buy one.
Gotcha. All right. What got you into? We talked. I think we talked about this mostly before the call. But what got you into doing this? Like, made you realize, like, hey, I'm just going to turn this into a business, other than perhaps an addiction to turning things into businesses.
Okay, besides that, I blame your wife. And she knows this too, and I'm going to get messages about this. So, like I said, I had never heard of the term whale reader. I
Mhm.
didn't know it existed. And it didn't occur to me that authors would even want my opinion. And this is just my opinion. I enjoy helping, I enjoy reading. And for me, it's honestly just something extra that I can do with my time. As I said earlier, I am retired, so I don't, I'm reading even more
Mhm.
than I was doing before. And this gives me a new way to look at some of these books too. It's not just reading it to consume it, which
Right. Yeah.
I do a lot, but it's reading it and looking at it differently. Of okay, so why am I not clicking on the next in the series? What would make me click on the next in the series versus how the book ended or whatever? Do I just need to leave the book to the side? That sort of thing is a little bit different,
Mhm.
and it's challenging my brain a little bit more. And I definitely like to challenge my brain.
Cool. That makes sense. Yeah. And getting to be a little more introspective about what you're reading and whatnot.
Yeah, and it's definitely looking at it from different angles of
Mhm.
why I do something, and I don't usually know why I do stuff. So,
Um, you've done now how many of the reports that because there's so just so for anybody who's missed the beginning, there's two parts. One is for $49. It's an overview of the ad and the Amazon product page and the cover and the blurb and all that. And then for an additional 50 books, Dana will read your book and then submit a report.
mhm.
How many people have opted for both of those?
Everyone.
Everyone. Okay, cool.
Everyone so far has opted for both because it makes more sense.
Yeah.
So, like I told you, probably in the future, I'll just make it easier and y'all can just combine it into one thing. Um, but over the past couple weeks, since literally, this has only been going on for, I think, 2 weeks, two and a half
Yeah, it's been pretty
weeks.
recent. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, I've read 7 books
Cool.
just from this. And I usually take a break and read in between.
Okay. Sort of a palate cleanser, read your own thing kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. Read something that, oh, I have this in Kindle Unlimited already.
Cool. How good are authors at describing what their book is accurately in your experience?
I think that the hardest thing that people are having a problem with is the genre of where it fits into it. And Amazon, I don't think it makes it easy. I really don't. I had to look up what some books could possibly be in versus what I was told that they were in. But I think most of them are not necessarily, I think that they're pulling from a section. A lot of them for their blurb, they're pulling from a section and then describing the characters. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Like they'll pull a section from the book somewhere and then they'll introduce you to the main characters. And then the blurbs are hard, and I can totally understand that. And like I said, I'm not a big blurb reader, so this is something that it's made me actually read everyone's blurbs. And now I'm reading more of them. But they're pretty good about it. At least that I've seen so far. They're pretty darn close. I think the biggest issue that I've seen so far is either in the cover or in the ad picture, the ad image.
So the image just doesn't align with the characters who are actually in the book. And it's interesting. I've always speculated that people don't really remember the ad that much, but you do. And you'll go back and even find it sometimes.
I will. And sometimes I actually did that for a TikTok video in Reel the other day. I had to find that one with the corpse thing, the corpse queen. And I had to go back and find it because I was like, oh, this fits into why I want those first lines or why I want, so that I could show the image. And so I had to go back, and I was thankful that Facebook was being nice and showed me the same ads again.
Cool.
Or at least similar ads, and along with that one and why I stopped on it. So that was helpful. But yeah, the pictures are really worth a lot to me.
Right. I think that the picture that the ad has is the most important thing an author can do when they're building their ads is getting that right. William actually has an interesting question here. Is about read through, and this is true for most authors. Most authors make their money on read through, on people who start book one and continue through the series. So when you reach the end of a given book, what's the thing that's most likely to get you to the next book in the series?
I have to like the characters. It has to match what I was told it was. If it's got an ongoing plot, say it's suspense and something's carrying over from one from the next, I need to know why I'm following it. There has to be, I'm going to go with a murder. Have we caught the murderer yet? Do we know who the murderer is? Have we even been introduced to the murderer at this point? Do I need to know? If I need to know something, I'm going to continue.
Okay.
I saw in that question, an excerpt from the next book, I will not read it. I'm so sorry, guys. No, I actually do the read through though for you guys. So I do click until I'm at the very end. Why? Because then at the very end, it pops up and says, do you want to read the next one in this series? And if it's on Kindle Unlimited, I'm like, click. I don't even bother reading. I'm just going from one to the next to the next. Right. So an excerpt, the only time an excerpt really works for me is if I have to buy the next book. Okay. If I'm about to spend my money, if I'm about to actually spend my money on a book, I need to know what I'm getting into if I don't know you as an author. Right. There's certain authors that I will buy without thinking about it. And most of them are bigger names. Most of them are not indie at this point. So those I'll pre-order a year in advance and then get excited when books show up. So, image of the next book cover, nah. Author's notes, sometimes I'll read, especially if you guys talk to me. Right. Instead of just telling me, talk to me. Hey, one of them I think I read recently at the end of the book, it said, hey, I'm so glad that you actually made it to this point. and then it went on and it told me a little bit about why they wrote it. And it was really good, and it made me like the author more. And for some reason that made me want to go ahead and click the next one. Cool.
So you felt like you had a personal relationship in a way with the author because of that.
Yeah. And, it just kind of made me smile. And a lot of times it just has to do with, am I clicking with the book itself? Am I clicking with the characters?
Okay. See, Rosa had asked, I think this is Rosa, by reading so many books, do you actually become a fan of specific authors and then read more of their books? Or is it just the books are showing up on your radar? And do you subscribe to author newsletters?
So I did subscribe to author newsletters. I'll start with this one and go backwards a little bit. I stopped reading them though, mainly because a lot of them, and this comes from my marketing background, because a lot of your emails from authors go into either my spam or they go into my promotions. So it has to do with how everyone is writing their emails and how they are wording them. And they're using words that are triggering Google to file them into either my spam or my promotions folders. I don't read my promotions folders because it's usually a bunch of stuff that I don't need to buy. My spam folder is a spam folder. I don't clean it out. Well, I just delete everything every certain number of days. So I stopped subscribing to a lot of newsletters. I do follow authors on Amazon, which is different, because then that just lets me know, and those show up on the first page of my Google account, my Google email that will say there's a new release from this person, and I'll just click and click. If I liked you enough to follow you, I'm going to go just click on your new book.
Okay, that makes sense. And it's interesting that Amazon's email gets through.
Yeah, it really is. But it's a very quick thing. It's nothing that exciting. It doesn't even tell me what your book is about. Really, it just says that there's a new book. And so if I recognize the name right off the bat, then I'll go click. The other part of that question was asking me yes, there's a lot of authors that I actually do follow. A lot of them are mainstream though. They aren't indie. Well, okay, there's a lot of indie ones that I follow, and I've read every single one of their books. I've even gotten my daughter to read almost all of their books. So yes, there are definitely authors that I absolutely will follow and will pre-order and will make sure that I have the books, whether it's in KU or not.
Okay, cool. That's good. I'm guessing you probably found a lot of those authors through ads, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I found 95% of them at least. So
that's cool.
Some of them, yeah, most of them were through ads.
So what's your number one piece of advice? We might have actually already given this now that I think of what we've talked about, but your number one piece of advice for authors looking to appeal to readers?
So we've discussed the image. We've discussed the 2 lines there. Your cover needs to be pretty darn good. It doesn't need to be perfect, but I need to be able to read your title. I came across this recently with a totally different book, and I couldn't read the title. I knew what the title was, but I couldn't read it because the image behind it was the way the image was. It was blocking some of the letters because the images were pretty, which is great, but they were also in the same shape almost as some of the letters. So it kind of blurred in my vision of what it was. So if I'm looking at the cover, also have your ads and your covers match. Match what you're doing. If you're writing a paranormal book, make it a paranormal. Look at the other book covers in the same. Look at the top 10. See what they're doing. There's certain things I'm not a fan of, but they work. So, and it, I think that those are the biggest. I think that finding a phrase that you like in your book that stands out to you, that you think is going to stand out to readers, is big, because you've written these characters. You like these characters. Hopefully you like your own characters. You may not, but if you align everything the same, like, I'm not going to love all your characters, there's one series that I read. I honestly don't know who wrote this series, right off the top of my head. I hate the main character, but I love the series. She irks me, but everything aligns. Like, you go through it and she just bugs me. But the image is good. The storyline is good. The other characters buffer her issues. And it just makes everything move smoothly. So, trust your characters a little bit, because they'll, yeah. I mean, they're the ones that we're falling in love with. We're not falling in love with you.
As for authors, our egos. Come on.
I know. So, it really, it definitely helps. But finding like a key phrase or something just like that stands out, that you can put in an ad, that you can put on your first line of your blurb or something. One thing I have seen is that a lot of people will take the first part of their book and use that as their blurb or use that as their ad. I don't want to read your book right there, then and there. Your first line of your book, it's not going to make or break the book. And I think that it doesn't need to be in the ad all the time. I think sometimes finding something that's a little bit more catchy would work better.
A lot of people actually do read like an excerpt from the book in the ad.
They do.
But not everybody does, which is why I always say to people, like, don't only do long form copy for your ad. Do short form ones as well, because the long form ones are not going to grab some people.
Right.
Well, Jill's like that too. Jill will not read ad copy.
No, I have the attention span of a gnat when it comes to that.
It's so funny that people feel that you, who will sit down for 10 hours a day and read books, won't spend any amount of time reading things on Facebook.
Because if you've attracted my attention, I'd rather just read the whole book than the excerpt.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. Danica asks, what makes you love a character? I'm kind of curious about this. I don't know if I even know for myself what makes me love a character, but
I don't. Okay. I myself may be a little bit snarky, so I love snarky characters. I love, it doesn't make a difference if it's a male character or female character. It doesn't make a difference. I love snark. I like to laugh, even in murders. There's always something there, a line or whatever. You can always find a line in a book or from a character of someone saying something. That always works for me. Let me see what else. Like I said, they don't have to be likable. I don't have to love them, but I'm going in with an expectation. Based on what you've told me your genre was, based on what the image was, I'm going in with an expectation of what these characters should be. I can tell you what I don't like better than I could probably tell you what I love. I can't stand whiny people. I can't stand them in real life. I'm sure as hell not going to sit down for a couple hours and read a book with a whiny main character. They need to grow. They need to grow. I don't care if they start out a little bit whiny. They can. But they need to grow and start making decisions for themselves. I think there's one book that I think I wanted to throw across the room at one point, and it was a reverse harem book. And she couldn't make a damn decision to save her life. I mean, I don't care if it was pizza or tacos. She could not make the decision in this book whatsoever. I'm like, she's got 4 guys there. And it was just like, why do you have to refer to them to figure out what you're going to eat for dinner? Please just make a decision.
Maybe that's why she has 4 guys, because she can't make a decision.
Well, then it was like, I don't care. What do you want to eat? I'm like, I go through this in real life. I really don't need the whiny people. I have 5 kids. So, I've been through this stuff. I don't need that.
It's just like a turn off for every parent, actually.
Yeah. And so I don't like them to whine about everything. Like, they don't know if they can do something when they just did it 2 chapters ago. They just did it. They're going to do it again. Do it again.
Right.
It makes sense. Just, that you can do it because you just succeeded in it. Just now you've grown a little bit. So just do it.
No, that makes a ton of sense. I like that.
Yeah, it's more what I don't like in characters. Because like I said, the least likable character I've ever, I think, read of this one book. I mean, literally, she just rubs me all the wrong ways, but I love the series.
So the guys must be good then, or something. Eh?
I think it's just the fact that I really want to know what's happening in the story. The plot's really good, and it's so screwed up that it's really good. She just irritates me.
So there's got to be a certain so that can be so an irritating character can be overcome by the author telling a story good enough that you're just like, I have to know what happens next.
Yes,
I hate the process of learning about this. I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to, like I said, at the end of that book, if there's a thing that says I can click and download it now, I'm doing that.
All right. That's good. I mean, most of the time we always say people stay for the characters, but I guess sometimes if the plot's good enough,
no, the plot can
you'll stay
be
in spite of the characters.
Yeah.
I do agree with the snark. I'm the same way. I love snarky characters and sarcasm. I like it when there's someone in the group that's like calling out bullshit and stuff like that. The way I did my own books is I cheated, and my main character has an AI embedded in her mind. And so her AI is snarky and always like commenting on everything. So she's like basically has an internal conversation going on all the time with this AI, who's just mocking everything that's going on around them.
See, that's the type of stuff. Really, I love that stuff.
Yeah. And whenever I have to write a book without where the main character doesn't have an AI, I'm like, well, who are they going to talk to about everything all the time?
That's like going on in my head though constantly. So maybe I have an AI in my head somewhere.
Yeah, you do, yeah. It explains everything, doesn't it?
It explains a lot.
So Jill said you're booked until the end of May right now, right?
I actually caught up a little bit further. So I have openings within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, great.
So yeah.
Cool.
So 2 of them took me a lot less time to read than I thought that they would.
Okay. So we talked about genres you read, which turns out to be everything.
I know I'm not picky. I'm so not picky. I don't know if I could read as many books as I do with being picky. I really don't. Oh, I will tell you something. I would really appreciate it if omnibuses were less than 10 books.
Oh, really?
Because I get to book 7 and I don't remember where I am. And then usually around book 7, I'll drop it. I'll move to a different book. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to come back to it because I won't delete it from my library. But usually around 7, I need a break from the characters, from the storyline, or it's starting to get repetitive in my head.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that was one thing that I thought about.
I remember I had one reader one time who said you need to take a break from my books, and I'm like, oh really? Like I was like, why? And he's like, look, your books are like caviar, but I can't have caviar for every meal.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So, well, I don't know if I appreciate my books being compared to caviar. I think they should be compared to like a bacon cheeseburger or something. But
But I could have a bacon cheeseburger for every meal.
That's true. Clearly, I need to write a bacon cheeseburger and not caviar. That's my problem. Does anyone have any questions for Dana that they'd like? We've done a bunch of them, but if anyone has other questions about, how long it takes, or just like something you're thinking about doing, if you're curious about like a storyline idea that you kind of would like some feedback on, we could take that as well. In the meantime, I will quickly show Dana's site, which is whalereader.com. I almost can't believe you got that.
I got that one, and I know I was so excited. I think I was messaging Jill, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I've got it."
Yeah, so there it is. You can go to whalereader.com and just sort of like you can read a little bit about what she has going on and all that normal jazz, or just click the button right at the top and sign up to get your book read. Nice and simple. I like that. The button's like right there. Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. And I think it's, for $100, since everybody's gone for the full Monty anyway, $100 to get someone to read your book and provide a report. Oh, I meant to ask, how long is the report that you do?
It depends on the book, and sometimes it depends on. I think one that I'm doing, I think I'm on 4 pages. Well, this one's 1. Another one was 4. No, this one's 3 pages. So it really just depends. I have more to comment on some than others.
Okay.
And some I'll include more of the pictures of other. One of them, I needed to show more of the difference of the ads of things that I would do. I've actually gone in and made different images based on what I thought some of them should be more like.
That's cool.
Just to give like an idea of how it would portray the character.
Right.
I'm definitely not a graphic designer. I will not do ad pictures. I just honestly take your picture and put it in if I think it needs like some sort of minor change.
Right. No, I like that, because that way you can just like, here's a visual of what I think you should be doing.
What I'm thinking, and it's not perfect, but like one, it was changing I like the image, but it needed something else just to attract my attention a little bit more. So we just changed a small part of it.
Oh, cool. That's really neat that you do that as well. Danica asks, what about working as a beta reader before the book launches? Would you consider doing that?
So some people have asked me, I have actually done this service for a book that hasn't launched yet.
Okay.
So they just sent me, they sent it to me in whatever format Kindle uses. And I just read through it like that and what their images were. So that I'll do. Honestly, as a true beta reader, I've tried it. My heart's not in it when I do it like that. I think sometimes if I'm a beta reader, I feel bad because if I don't like your book, I don't want to tell you. Because no one likes to be told that someone doesn't like their book. So I always want to be positive with that. With the Whale Reader Insights, you're paying me for my opinion. You're not paying me to sugarcoat it.
Right.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not mean. I try really hard to at least, these are the good aspects. These are the things. So I've done beta reading before. I've done a couple other things, and my heart's not in it. I'd rather just read it.
But you would do like the Whale Reader Insights for a book that isn't released yet, though.
Yes.
And give people your thoughts and opinions on everything they have put together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one person that I'm doing it for, they have the second book is already planned. Mm-hmm. So along with it, they sent me, the outline of the next book.
Oh, cool.
So does this make sense to go from here to here? And, that sort of thing. I mean,
go ahead.
I'm not like set in stone because it's such a new service. I'm not set in stone on how I'm doing things. So sometimes, I've had people, I've sent them the report and they sent me back like 5 different graphics for their ads. And I'm like, I like this one, don't like this one. This one I would click on, this one I wouldn't. Cool. So, I'm not being rude and saying, I'm sorry, you have to pay me again to do that sort of thing. No, I'm not.
Right. Yeah. So you get a little bit of back and forth. That's something I was going to say that's a really cool thing you're doing. This is a personalized service for each author where you're like actually engaging with their book as a reader, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. That's the whole idea, and giving them that kind of insight that they wouldn't get from other people who are in the industry so much all the time.
Or even just reviews. Mm-hmm. One book has really, really good reviews. And I'm confused with the book. So, it has a lot of good reviews but I'm confused by the end of the book. So then I'm letting them, they said that their series kind of dies after a certain point. And they wanted to know why. So it made sense. The book's really well written, but there's some confusion at the end. So I need to know why there's confusion. And letting them know that if they add one paragraph at the end, it would stop that confusion and make me want to read the next book.
That's invaluable. That could be some priceless
So,
advice.
right, because I just need something to grab my attention to want that next book.
Right.
Not necessarily a cliffhanger, but make the transition smooth, because they're not. And I'm finding this, cozy mysteries, they end, and so they better end. If it's a cozy, it better end. But with other books, you're expecting me to follow a series, but why am I following it? Because you ended that storyline right there. You didn't give me something to want to continue. You've ended a storyline. So that, to them, that would be huge. This is why I'm not clicking the next book.
Cool. And that's going to be different for every book too. Like there's no formula for how to get someone to read the next book, because it's so dependent on what was in the book.
Right. And it depends on the storyline.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I worked with one author recently, and between her third and her fourth book, I think it was, the read through dropped by half, and she didn't really, we were looking at our ads wondering why we weren't making enough money. And I said, well, let's do a read through analysis on your series to see what was happening. And we saw that. I'm like, oh, I should actually recommend that she talk to you to see, because we had some thoughts on why people might not be reading from that point forward, but clearly something's wrong in the book, and turning people off. So that it can be, and for her, if we can fix that, it will almost double her profitability. So
right.
It can be really important to be analyzing that stuff. This is an interesting question from Ashley. She asks, do you expect to be surprised when you read mysteries or suspense? Or are you so experienced with story that you predict the twists and turns? And would that ruin it for you if you can predict the twists and turns?
No, it doesn't ruin it for me. I'll start there. I love to be surprised. I absolutely love it. I love the twists and turns. Some of you all have some really weird minds out there. And I eat that up. Sometimes I can predict who did it, whatever, or what's going to happen. And that's okay. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop reading. It's like I'll be watching shows with my husband and he stops at 20 minutes to the end. Yes, we know who the killer is, but I just want to see him get caught, please. Finish the goddamn thing. We've invested an hour and 10 minutes into this. 20 minutes isn't going to kill you. So I'm the type of person that will finish it, even if I know who it is. If there's a surprise is great. There's quite a few that are really, really good with that. I think it depends on the genre, though, because cozies I find very predictable. But they have a format that they're supposed to go. And if I'm sitting by the pool, I have no problem finishing 3 to 4 cozies while I'm sitting at the pool.
Wow.
I'll go from one to the next, to the next, to the next in a series. That's when someone loves me on the other end when they're getting their KU report at that.
They do.
They've got to. But some of them, the ones that I find the most suspenseful are the ones that keep me up at night. And there's some series that I don't want to finish. There's one book out there that I own the book. I've owned the book now for over 2 years because I bought it first. And it's the end of the series, and I don't want the end of the series to happen. So I'm actually just sitting there waiting until I have a moment when I actually want to finish it. And I don't want to yet. So it's been 2 years and I still know everything about the whole series. So that's those type of surprises, actually, I think I love a little bit more. To get into books where I'm just like, please don't end.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it really is. Some of the other things I really like is going from one book to another book by the same author, and they're in the same universe. For some reason, I love that. And then their characters interact.
Yeah.
From one book to the next. Now, I would like to say I would really appreciate if you all would stop giving like she's pregnant all of a sudden. She wasn't pregnant in the last book in that series over there. So why is she pregnant over here? She wasn't even married yet, because that book comes out in 2 more weeks. So, that happened once. I was really, I'm like, she shouldn't be pregnant. She's not married yet. They're still arguing over there.
Yeah, that can be a little bit spoilery.
Yeah, that really was. It was like, but I was jumping from this particular author. She is an indie author, and she has multiple series, and they're all in the same universe. And so it's a lot of fun. My daughter reads all of her books as well, because we'll jump from one to the other. But when you do that, please give me a map of where I need to go next.
Yeah.
Versus, if
I do that, I have a big shared universe as well. It's like 120 some odd books all in the same shared universe. Well, actually, I have a note at the beginning of the book that says, "Don't read this book if you haven't read these books." So that you don't get spoiled.
See, that I appreciate.
Yeah. So then you would know, like, oh, I need to go read this other stuff. And
right.
Then it would
okay, you jump over here.
Yeah.
Right. I wish that there was a way, and I don't know if they can do this in Kindle, that this is the book that you should read next, not next in the series necessarily. No, but Kindle, this is the one that I know. It would be so cool if they did that.
There's because I have so many books, there's a website that my readers made called, I think it's called readerinfo.net. I should look it up because it's kind of cool. Reading info or readingorder.info. And it's only got 2 series in it right now that the guy put together. I'll actually share it because it's kind of cool. If folks have complicated intertwined universes, you should reach out to the guy who runs this website and see if you can get yours added. So it has all of the books and then how they branch off and stuff like that. And then you can do it by horizontal or vertical. So you can kind of get like a subway map kind of idea.
Oh, that's nice.
And then it shows, there's supposed to be arrows. I guess it's being a little bit slow. Oh, there it goes. It took a bit to load all the arrows. And you can kind of see timeline wise and then where things branch off onto other series and then combine back in. Because at some points it gets kind of tricky. Right. You get like these crazy arrows drawn everywhere. But yeah, it'd be really cool if Amazon had something like that for us, but I doubt we would ever see it.
Yeah, but like instead of the next book in the series, this is the next one you should be reading at the very end of your book. Not necessarily.
Yeah. And you're right. As authors, we could do that manually. We could just write it in. Like, go read this one next, which I do actually in some of mine, but maybe I could do that even more. But yeah, for any authors who are looking, it's
that's
reading
really
order, cool. Yeah, readingorder.info. I think the style of this is actually called like a subway map is the kind of idea for bigger, more complicated universes.
I love flowcharts.
I do too. Actually, when he made it, I'm just like, wow, now I don't need to make anything because he just made like the perfect thing for my books.
I'll draw flowcharts all over the place.
Yeah.
I love flowcharts.
So we got one. We'll do one last question, and then wow, actually we did. I wasn't even thinking we'd make an hour, but we're just about there. Do you read standalone romances?
Yes. Am I more likely to read multiple standalones if they should? Yeah. I read standalone romances. They are my really quick reads. I love romances. I mean, come on. They were growing up. They were the forbidden book. So they're absolutely my favorite because of that. I came from the dime store. Okay, well, quarter Harlequin romances where we would sneak them. And yeah, I love it if they have a shared universe. I am more likely, like if there's multiple people involved, the next one, the next guy that gets hooked up with some girl, with the romance, that just happens to be friends with these people. No problem. I read one last night and I'm all about the second book, which isn't out yet. And so I have to wait. So
does it help if the characters in the next book are introduced in the prior book? Is that going to get you more likely if they say like, hey, you met read John's romance and you already read John and you like John?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's big. If you have people that are in the same storyline, but just branching off even just a little bit, but then they see these other people that you just read about, I think that's really cool. Because I already know them. I have a relationship with them already. I committed to my my time to them already.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to see them again, and I'm happy to see they're still going strong, and they're not divorced yet. So that's always a good thing. But I enjoy it. I like romance books just as much as any other book out there. So yeah, it's a standalone, whatever. It can be either way.
But shared universe helps if you got like that dopamine hit from like, hey,
If
it's these people I know.
if you have it on Kindle Unlimited and you have the series in there, those are the type of books that I like these people. I'm going to the next one. I like
Cool.
these people. I'm going to the next one. And those are the ones that I'm just going to keep reading. It goes along the same lines as a cozy mystery.
Yeah, and you'll just devour them.
Yeah, I'll read the whole. That's if when I talk and I say I read 12 books in a week, most likely something like that's happened.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I know there's a couple more questions down there, but we do have to wrap because I have a call I have to be on in 5 minutes, so I've got to run. But it was really great talking with you, Dana,
It was
and I
great
love that
talking to
you're
you.
doing this. I think this is so cool that you're offering this to authors, and since you have so much background in marketing and business, you can give them like good analysis and not just if you give an opinion, you can explain why you have that
Hmm.
opinion. I think is invaluable because authors need that to take action. And for anyone looking to check out what Dana's offer, it's really easy. It's whalereader.com. And there's a button right at the top says sign. What does it say? I had it handy. Get Whale Reader Insights now. So you just click on that, and in about a month, you could get to their book and give them
Yep,
a report.
absolutely.
Cool. Oh, wow. Someone already signed up. Look at that.
Yay.
That's awesome. Any last thoughts you have or anything you want to say to the folks?
No, but feel free to reach out to me.
All right.
I'm in the Facebook group as well. So if you have any questions, you feel free to message me on Facebook. I'll
You mean
respond.
you're in the Writing Wives Facebook group is what you meant?
Hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah, I think that Jill's tagged me in a couple things, so they can feel free to reach out to me and just send me a message. You don't have to be friends with me. That's okay. And I'll answer.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. It was really great chatting with you. I had a
It's
blast.
great chatting with you.
All right. We'll see you later.
See you later.